Welcome to this edition of The Bigger Game, From Surviving to Thriving. Our guest today is Dean West, actor and founder of the Dean West Studio. Dean, I can't do it as well as you can. Maybe just take a minute, introduce yourself a little bit, and tell us more about who you are.
Can I introduce myself as a Beezer? No, I'm just kidding.
If you think that's an upgrade, it's probably not.
So quick background. I started acting when I was probably 15, somewhere around there. Moved to Los Angeles, did all that jazz. Honestly, when I got into studio, learning more of the craft, what we do is acting, it led me backwards because I always already came from a little bit of a spiritual background. But understanding what we were doing as acting led me down a really cool, interesting path of this mixture between what we do with kind of like our conscious creativeness and building that kind of life we like to live. Because what we're doing as actors is building lives that we can truly personify, right? You watch people on TV and you're like, you don't think they're a good actor or a bad actor. If you're thinking that, by the way, they're probably bad. If you're guessing if they're good or bad, they're probably bad. But if you're following the human and you either hate them or love them, then automatically they're doing a great job, but they're truthfully living in circumstances that they've given themselves, which is what we do daily. It just depends on how much we've ingrained those circumstances that we live in. So it's kind of this neat combo there that led me into starting to coach actors and then everybody else along with it, because it's such an interesting way to look at these things.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's all about choices, right? You
Absolutely.
think to choose to be this person or that person, and maybe it's sort of a screen, or maybe it's in front of the screen of life, really, as to who I choose to be. So
Yeah.
I love that.
When you think about the
So
camera, it gets to kind of call you on your BS. You can get away with it like on an acting stage, but for film and television, if it's BS, it's BS, right? We're gonna
people know,
we're gonna know.
people know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I guess it's true in life too, right? If someone's putting on a show and not authentically themselves, it's trying to fit in
yeah.
or whatever. It's easy to see that as well many times. So yeah, I get that. So the bigger game to me is probably it's in line with what you said. It's a version of that is, how many times do I play the short game and try to fit in somewhere because I'm afraid of, not fitting in somewhere, or being the odd guy out. If you look at Brene Brown, I don't know if you've ever listened to anything she talks
Hmm.
about, but it's interesting. She brings up this conundrum that I think in order to fit into a group, an organization, I got to be like that organization, and
Right.
the organization is actually values me for my uniqueness and the uniqueness that I bring to the organization. So what I'm thinking and what the organization thing is so different, and I lose myself in the short term trying to fit in, right,
Yep.
and becomes like everybody else, right? And the bigger
One.
game, being like, hey, being myself and bringing my uniqueness and my gifts to that group, that individual that I'm hanging out with, whatever I'm doing, you know, and being authentic about it, like you were talking about, right? Either I'm a good
Yeah.
actor or a bad actor, or I'm being myself, right? I've really taken on that role and chosen that in the screen of life, right? So I think that's fantastic. What does the bigger game mean to you?
Well, I'm gonna run on what you had just kind of gave. Like if you look at it from the perspective of the actor that they're working on, trying to own this human being that they've now taken on. Bad actors tend to think they need to fake it and act versus the good actor that understands and's done enough self-exploration that they can find themselves within that human being. Because, you know this better than anybody. We have all of them. We've got the angels and the demons. They're in here. It's really just
Mhm.
who are you giving access to? So as the actors that can hone themselves enough to make sure they show up authentically, not character, but themselves, then the role that they're going into is going to be a whole different human being. The actors that show up to try to book a role as the actor to play the part, they don't get it. They just don't get the role because no one's seeing the actual human being show up. They're seeing this put on, this fake acting bullshit, It's not authentically them. I don't want to cast someone that's not the human being that I'm looking for. So if you can't authentically find yourself within it, we judge ourselves or judge character, if you want to call it that, you're not going to be able to own it.
That's fantastic, and yeah, and that maps so well to life in general, right? We were just talking about that. I won't repeat it, but that maps so well to the other side of it, that like
Mm-hmm.
my life day to day. Speaking about life day to day, do you have anything you want to share with us about your journey as you saw this parallel between life and acting that you've been talking about since we got on this morning? Are there
Sure.
is there any nuggets or maybe personal stories that you think would add value to us?
I'll give you one technique that we use as actors that I've used in just daily coaching for just people working on building development and understanding themselves. And we think about when we wake up in the morning, we start a new day, a new mode of frequency, right? We wake up in a certain frequency, and then we kind of shift depending on what we first get activated by. Is it the instant emails or text messages or social media? God forbid. Or do we take that moment to control our what I call moment before? So as an actor, there's one of the techniques I use when you're building out your script, right? So we don't shoot in order. We shoot a movie completely out of whack. You might get there and you're shooting the last scene on your first day or the first scene on your last day. There's no control over that. It's really just via the production company of how we had to structure things out to shoot it in the best and cheapest to make the most sense, not necessarily in order for the actor to do his great job, right? You don't get to experience and then kind of live all the way through like a play. We're shooting out of order. So when you get your script and you may break down your fifth scene in the script that day you're shooting, we'll use what we call a moment before. And I'll use this in my daily life as well. My moment before is, where was I? Where am I? What do I want? That shifts me into a frequency, a perspective of what I'm doing at that scene for that moment, so that I'm not having to fake my way into acting like I've been doing these things and I'm this person and I'm after this thing. I can give myself the where was I, where am I, what do I want? So when I flip to the page that we're shooting that day, and if you're on an independent film might literally just go, hey, we changed our mind. We're shooting this today. Oh, shit. Okay. And if you haven't kind of written all these things down, you may not be prepared for that. So if I flip over and I'm like, all right, where was I? Okay, I was at my mom's house. Where am I now? I'm showing up at my house, and what do I want? I want to tell my wife how much I love her, and I'm probably going to propose today. So I've got this setup, right? That might be the scene. If I run, where was I? I was at my mom's, and you can put detail to that. What was I doing? I just had dinner. I told my mom that I want to propose to my wife, my girlfriend today, my fiance, and you allow those feelings, whatever that is, and you know how much allowing is. That's a huge power for anything across the board. And then where am I at now? I'm outside the door, about to walk in to propose to my girlfriend. What do I want? I want her to understand how I feel. When you say those things to yourself and you're able to allow that, it puts you in the frequency, the expectation, and the want of this human being, not a human being of difference, but you're activating those things in yourself. I am blah 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 blah, right? So in the morning, as the regular human being, where am I? Before I even get out of bed, I'm waking up next to my beautiful daughter and my amazing wife. Where am I now? I just had my daughter roll over and say, "Dad, are you going to work?" "Yeah, I am." "I love you. Have a good day." Warms my heart. What do I want? I want to help everyone get to their goals today because that makes me feel good. Own it for a second, allow that feeling, and then I get up and start my day. So it's the same method that I would use for a scene. I'm just shifting it for me. There again, no character because character is kind of the bullshit story that we've already based our beliefs on. It's already there. I'm not shifting any of that. I'm just giving myself something that motivates me to start my day.
Yeah, the power of choice, right?
Yep.
Um, at some point, if we just take that, extrapolate that for a second, and I'm
Hmm.
at a networking event, and years ago, I made a choice. I may not even be aware of it, but I made the choice to be shy. So I want to go talk to you across the room, but I'm shy, so I'm not going to do it. I don't even know why I didn't do it. I felt shy, and I believe that to be
Hmm.
true. However, the choice I made years ago, or whenever I made it, right?
Yeah.
Not to reverse it. Now I want to come. I made it years ago a choice that I am a gregarious guy. I'm very social. I'm very outgoing. Whatever, pick the word. and I want to go talk to you, and I really don't want to talk to you because I'm feeling whatever, nervous about approaching you or whatever, right? But now I made that choice years ago that I am outgoing, so I'm going to overcome that and have that conversation. And
Yeah.
I had the experience of being outgoing. How I forget that I made the choice years ago. So to your point, getting up in the morning, and so I can choose any moment and choose whatever I want. If you espouse that thought process, then I can choose to be anybody at any time, like regardless of what the past says, because
Yeah.
I chose it and I'm creating the future, like you talked about. I'm in bed thinking about my day, starting it up, who I'm going to be today, what I want to accomplish, what I'm about, what are my goals, all the things you just talked about in those three questions, right?
Yeah.
So I can create it by choice, moment to moment. And the interesting thing is, the first time I'm running, I did all that, and I run and I stub my toe, right? A different thing happens. Am I still in that? Am I choosing still to be that? Or am I going to choose to now react to my toe? Am I going to respond from what I just created, getting out of bed, like you talked about?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to react to my toe being stubbed and then totally shift and choose something else, right?
Yeah, I
It
would
is
say
the blessing and the bane of being human, right?
sure, and I would say it depends on the momentum of the choice and the determination of that you've done this so many times in a row, because stubbing my toe doesn't change me, right? So if I'm in, for lack of better words, in character for a scene, it's not written in there that I stub my toe or hit my leg on the table, but I do on accident. I don't become Dean or any less of the human that I am. I just might add an extra line that goes, ah, shit. Anyway, can you just bring him over tomorrow? I really do want to see him. Right? It doesn't change anything. It actually layers an extra thing on top that makes the scene even more brilliant. That then the director goes,
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened. Could we do that again though? I like it. Because it was spontaneity. So it really again becomes the new choice that you just stepped into. You stubbed your toe. Does it make you go to the negative aspect of, oh, that hurt. I can't believe this. My day's just going to keep going. And you start the new momentum? Or, could I do? I was going to do that again. Toe. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
It really kind of depends on that. I worded it one way the other day of talking about, you wake up at your house. Actually, we were doing a mastermind together. And we were talking about this of like, you wake up at your house and you have your
Yeah.
coffee's all gone, but your friend left this crappy coffee for you. So you're like, great, I'll just drink that. Or you wake up at your house, you're out of your great coffee. Oh, but at least my friend left this coffee that he drinks. That'll work. Where do you look? Do we continue the momentum
Yeah.
of trying to find the one that leads me to getting better, or do we start the momentum back of the poop rolling downhill?
Yeah, and get deeper in that too, right? Because the how many times do I look at that and go, okay, if I choose to just be nicey about the bad coffee, right? Am I just, I'm just lying to myself to make myself feel better? It's not reality, right?
Hmm.
People, it's so easy for me to go there as well.
Sure.
And kind of like you said, the whole acting thing, like he's a good actor, bad actor, or really being the person,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm just saying that to say it, then it's easy for me to get to a place of, yeah, I'm just lying to myself. I start
Yep.
giving validity to my surroundings instead of validity to my own thought and my own choices that I'm making. And I
Yeah.
give my power away to that stub toe, to the bad coffee, to whatever, acting like that's reality. When I think the reality really is the choice that you're talking about, like the choice
Yeah.
I made. Like, thank God my friend left this coffee. There's something to drink. That's fantastic, right?
Hmm.
Glad I got some coffee, right? Of any sort.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, now I got to drink this second rate, third rate, fourth rate coffee, and this is going to suck. And my day is now just downhill from here, right?
Yeah.
So I love that.
And
What else you got for us, dude?
can you find that perspective shift? Can you do enough to, and you might have one of these. Do you know a guy named Wim Hof?
I don't know him, but I've read some of his stuff, I
They
think,
call him the
online.
Iceman.
Okay.
So
Go
one of the
ahead, share some
things,
more.
yeah. So one of the things I'll do if my mind's just having a rough day, we have it. You're human. It does not matter. I don't care how much you prep. Your stuff's gonna happen. That's just how the world is, right?
Humanity, right?
Right.
Humanity.
It
Yeah.
is what it is. You're gonna eventually click on social media, and I promise you, there is some kind of negative going through your feed. Whether you choose to feed it back, that's the hard part. I like. I'll tell people, if you want to start working on yourself, go on Facebook. And when you see that most likely political post that makes you want to write back, take a breath and go good for them. And scroll past. It's literally that easy. But man, letting yourself scroll past, that's its own exercise, because people are so ingrained to trigger and react, which in the acting term, it's funny because I work with people from the acting perspective of, I need you to be loose enough that you can allow every emotion to react accordingly and allow it to be. If in the scene something pisses you off, I don't want you to act pissed off. It should piss you off based on the belief and the structure that we've created. However, in your daily life, I work on you being able to not allow every emotion to run with your whims and cause your brain and your consciousness to follow it. Because that happens 24/7. Again, you're going to jump on social media. Something's going to trigger you. You get to either decide, I own this brain because my conscious is leading it, or did the trigger of the emotion fire the brain and you could not help but to go at it?
And I think the more I'm grounded in who I am, right? I'm here to serve people today. I can't say why I can't describe. You said it when I got up this morning. I'm here to make people better today, or add to their lives. However you said it, right? How deeply am I steeped in that thought? Like, do I own that thought, or is it a nice have to? If it shows up, it'll great. Is it a pie in the sky thing, or is it really like who I am? Because when it's really like who I am, when that happens, I can even, like this scenario you just gave, right? I can actually send some powerful energy or a prayer, depending on what my practice is, right, to that person, instead of going down this negative path, and it'd be authentic to myself. I don't even think about it, because if I'm actually choosing that, like you talked about, the parallel screen of life, an actor's screen, right? Like, if I'm really steeped in that, and my first natural thought, if I own it, is just to send them a powerful thought or something, some positive energy, prayer, or whatever, and keep moving, right? I think that's huge. I think the parallels that you bring today between acting and our lives, and how many people think they have to act in their own lives to fit in, to do whatever. I think it's eye-opening. It's stunning in its simplicity.
You would be surprised, because, I do some on-camera coaching for CEOs and people of that kind of nature. And you'd be surprised on anyone that hears my background, an automatic defense mechanism pops up. I don't need an acting coach. I promise you, my last job is to teach you to act. My real job is to teach you to stop doing all this acting bullshit that shows up as soon as that camera comes on. They're already acting. Everybody's acting, because we're all living on perspective or created circumstances that we create. If we all have different circumstances, we all come up with different belief systems, but we're all living in the same world, right? We're all on this third dimension here right now. So we're all based at the same perspective. It's really, which ones are you committing yourself to, or which character description are you living from at that day? If you want to shift that character description, you can, along with the habits that go along with it, that shift how you speak, how you react, how you handle everything every day. It's really up to you. I mean, I've literally watched, I was a metaphysicist. It was a computer programmer. What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson, and one other, rocket scientist, some other, like 5 or 6 brilliant minds discuss whether we're living in a simulation, and no one could prove one way or the other. Why are you not creating the movie of your life and you're this lead? Prove me wrong, and I'm open to shifting.
Yeah, I think when I think about that, and I think about the possibility that I can create any life I want and just become that person. So it's access to my higher self, the person I was espoused to be, right? And how much of my past experiences, my beliefs, my views, my perspectives that I carry from the past, most likely, because I have nothing else to base it off of, right? I bring it into my present, and I even store it in my future. And then I get up in the morning and I wonder why life is the same it was yesterday. And then my life is XYZ, whatever word you want to it, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what I'm creating. I'm getting in the morning and say, I'm here to help people, like you said, right? And I'm living into that, or I'm living into whatever past says that happened yesterday, the day before. And now today look exactly like it did yesterday. And the most profound thing is like, it's like I look at those things as facts, the
Hmm.
results as facts, and go, see,
Oh
my
yeah.
life is like this. My life is like that. And really, it's a choice I made. And I forget that I made that choice. And I give my power away to a circumstance, another conversation. I stub my toe, pick it, right? It's amazing in its simplicity, and yet its complexity. All the, because the humanity piece just
Yeah.
brings a whole new dimension to it.
Yeah, because
That's fascinating.
I would say that while yes, we choose our belief system, we're also raised through a period of time. This epigenetics is a really strong conversation because you can have a set of twins that were separated living in two different houses. One ate processed food and junk and had, mental decay. The other one had a pretty decent life and a, quality-ish food. Because of the surroundings and what they were in, their mentality develops different, their body develops different, their belief system develops different. You can have people in the same house, but if their belief systems are building in different ways, they're going to be different human beings and the outcome in their lives are going to be different. Nothing to do with their actual genetics. It was the epigenetics. It was the stuff they were surrounded by. It was the things they heard. Did my parent
Mhm.
tell me every day, God, you would just get smarter every time we talk? Or did my parents say, God, you come up with some silly stuff. You're so dumb.
Yeah.
And did I allow that? Did I accept it? Because, what is it, 5 to 7, somewhere around there? That's usually where we kind of build these belief systems. And if you've never gone back, I mean, think about it. How many people do you work with that have never gone back to think about the fundamental beliefs they have in their life that shift their whole perspective and how they see the rest of it? But they've never gone back to question them at all, even if it was the stuff that they believed when they were kids. Never changed it
Yeah,
because they didn't
to
think
them
about it.
it's reality.
It's a
Right, they
fact.
didn't think about it, and to them it was like it's reality. It's a fact,
It's a fact. Yeah.
right? They haven't had the ability to go back and consider that it was a choice they made to believe in that belief or create that belief, and
Yeah.
then at that point they could create any belief they wanted,
I mean, how much of
right?
your work is designed on helping you shift some fundamental beliefs?
It's all about perspective.
It's all about perspective.
It's about realizing the perspectives I gave up to be comfortable,
Hmm.
right? In the face of that guy saying whatever he said and did whatever he did, and now I'm all offended. Being uncomfortable enough in the first time I do it, right?
Yeah.
To send him some powerful thought, like Opus Dei goes, well, guy got cut off in traffic. Somebody brought that up on a different podcast. I got cut off in traffic. And so I was like, and so the conversation went to a point of, yeah, and I let that person pass. And, we could even go as far as hoping they got to where they wanted to get to safely and that they had a good experience wherever they were going,
Right.
in the face of being cut off in traffic and wanting to use some 4-letter words and whatever else you want to say in that, in that whole wave of humanity that comes up, right? In the face of that, being able to turn that off and choosing who I am, my higher self,
Yeah.
right? And stepping into that and sending some powerful energy or prayer to that person,
Yeah.
right? That is a bigger game, right? That's exactly
That's
what
the
you're
bigger
talking
game.
about,
That's the bigger
right? I'm
game.
I'm in an acting scene, and I hit the coffee table, and it becomes a natural part of the event. And because I'm so owning the who I am,
Yep.
right, that it just rolls and adds to the scene rather than taking away from it.
Yeah.
Same thing in my life, right? I own that conversation that you just talked about helping others and being there for others today in a way that makes a difference. Again, those are all I forget how you said it, but
Oh
those
no,
are
you say it
right,
wonderfully. Yeah.
living like that today and stubbing my toe along the way and reacting to that stubbed toe from that thought versus shifting my thought to something else. I
Hmm.
think that's playing the bigger game, and that actually, what do I get back in return? The gift I
Yeah.
get back in return of experiencing myself that way versus experiencing myself as someone that just gave in to my stubbed toe, right? Became a victim to it. And then I carry that weight and I do it again. I carry more weight and I carry more weight. And eventually, like you said, I have a belief around my life just being whatever I think it is.
Right.
Right. It's stunning.
So I would say the bigger game, and I'll give you two versions of it, depending depending on age range. Uh, are you a soul with a body, or are you a body with a soul? Meaning, my second version, are you the gamer with the controller, or are you the character in the game?
Hmm.
And
It's just
my
that simple.
it really is. And my bigger game perspective would be that you're both.
Speak to that for a minute.
Well, I am, when we think about this as a universal whole, right? Depending on your belief system, most people at least come together on some sort of going. If we use the term God, we're using it in a term that speaks to everything, the all, right? Or for Hermes Trismegistus' idea, the all. It is all mental, but we're all pieces and particles of that because we're all made from the same. We're just experiencing different parts as the whole, so that the whole gets to experience things that it couldn't experience as the whole. So we are not only the whole, but we're also the guy on the inside. We're also the other guy that we're dealing with. That's why we call it that mirror perspective of getting to see other things in our lives. It may piss us off, but it's really something you need to work on. Right? I'm not seeing stuff that pisses me off. I'm seeing stuff that I dislike in myself that I might need to look at.
That's
So
priceless.
there you go. We're the whole.
Yeah, in part of our belief system, like everything is in its proper, but inside the God perspective, right?
Hmm.
That everything is in its just position where it's supposed to be, exactly
Hmm.
how it's meant to be, through some ultimate wisdom that's beyond my capacity to comprehend, right?
Sure.
So, um, so an example of that is like, I'm going down the street and I see a person who is asking for alms for charity, and I see a guy in a suit, right? Instantly, I have a belief system about both those people,
Yep.
right? One person must be like this, one person must be like that, right? Whatever thoughts I have, they're very different, whatever they are, typically, right? And unless and I'm not there yet, but I'm sure maybe somebody on the planet who doesn't. But as humanity speaks, that's what I see,
Yeah.
right? And
Because you're also
I'm
based in
actually,
reality, right? I mean, you can
yeah, yeah,
only
yeah. But
ignore so much.
but that judgment really, like you said, is part of the bigger whole. It's not
Yeah.
my place to make that right judgment. But there I am, and instead of helping each other, like you talked about, you're being the mirror of what I don't like about myself or whatever. And I have the choice right there
Hmm.
to either blame you for it or actually play the bigger game and take it upon myself to notice, right, why that bothered me and where about myself bothers me about that whole way of being, and take myself to the next game, right?
Yeah.
Going back to that story for a second. So I give alms to the person who is asking for alms, right? And in some cultures, in our culture, right, doing that is one way of elevating myself, right?
Yeah.
Of past transgressions or whatever. It's a way of kind of
Paying it
helping
back.
that person, and also lightening myself up a little bit in the process.
Yeah.
So then I have a choice again there. Am I doing that guy a favor, or is that guy doing me a favor?
Hmm.
Right? I'm able to be there for that person in that way. If he wasn't there, I couldn't lighten my load. Right? I couldn't take care of something, some pet's transgression, whatever it might be, and elevate myself, become more angel-like, if that's my philosophy.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't have that opportunity. So as I give this person the alms, am I actually thanking that person for being there? Am I coming from a place of ego and saying, "Boy, if I wasn't here, who would feed you today?" Right? The spectrum, right? I
Yeah.
could pick anything in between. What is my choice? If you look at life, it's just a series of choices that I make moment to moment to moment, and then I either play the bigger game, or I don't, or I play something in the middle. Right?
Yeah.
It's again stunning in its simplicity and its complexity, all in the same sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because when you talk about it in the game perspective, it's like I could take this goal right now and possibly make it, but if I don't take this goal, I could set us up for a 3-pointer. Do I take the point, or do I shoot it to my buddy that I know can nail that 3-pointer? We get a bigger game over there, but this one's mine. Me or us? Or
yeah,
am I the team? Because the team gets to
yeah.
move forward.
That is fantastic. Because that then expands the conversation into on the team. We have different types of folks, right, with different skill sets, different mindsets. There's people that have big thoughts and are visionaries, if you're using today's terminology, right? There's others who are just implementers, just want to be told what to do and just go do it. There's others who bring, the discerning look and want to take apart that big idea and make sure we've covered all the, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, right? And if I am the visionary in this conversation and that person's always got 5 objections, right? Do I look at that person as someone who's adding to my idea because now that idea gets better and better and more bulletproof because he may have thought something that I didn't think of, right? Or am I looking at that person like, always getting in the way, right?
Always making me shine less.
always shoot my ideas down, right?
Right.
Look at all the different players on your team. There's if you look at what the Working Genius is, like 8 different roles or whatever there are in that whole construction. I bring it to my house, I bring it to work, I bring it to my friends. How am I more able to do what you talked about? Get up in the morning and help everybody that I come in contact with when I can discern that for myself. Like everyone is trying to add to the cause in their own way.
Yeah. 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 And I would say humanity is kind of stuck in that middle ground of am I doing it for me and my family or my country, or is this am I actually trying to do it for the all? And I think that's the hard part because there's so much, especially in the US, that the left and right kind of becomes its own thing, that we get so stuck in identity without the realization that we are the team that we'd rather take the shot. I'd rather just take the shot. It may not get us may not win the game, but my overall score at the end of the season is going to be higher because I took the shot instead of him.
Comes down to if I translate that to life and what you just talked about, so it's a great idea. It's a great thought. It's like, am I going to be right in the moment? Like, and then discard everybody and everything that gets in my way of that, just, dominate the situation, being right? Or am I going to step back a minute and, like you said, let the way how did you say it? Let the energy and the emotions flow through me.
Yeah.
And let it just happen, right? And evolve and not get so caught in like my identity is not based on whether the other person agrees with me or not. My identity is based upon how I treated that person, regardless of what's going around me. Back to your point from the beginning of this conversation. And I forget
it all
that.
comes back to belief, which in the acting world we call character work. It's character work. Because your character work decides on your behaviors, the way you speak, how you handle things, and all that's based on how you grew up, how your family was raised, where you lived. I mean, it's crazy to say it, but when you think about it in this route, you became the religion you are because of where you grew up at the time you grew up.
Yeah, I mean, but again, depending on how you look at that, you ended up there for however you got there. You got there. If religion exists,
absolutely,
no shade. That's a whole different conversation.
Right? There's no shade for that towards a religion. It's just the point to understand that literally, if you were born in a different place, you might be the person that's having to deal with the bombs dropping right now. So your perspective of being bigger or higher than really was nothing but happened to be where you were born, when, and where, or to whom. You had no control.
Part of that bigger whole that leads to a whole conversation about gratitude, right?
Yeah, we'll have to do that one on another episode.
Yeah. I mean, that opens a whole new door about gratitude at that point, because it is so much out of our control, like you said, and we act like in human beings back there, everything's in our control when nothing is in our control. That's another podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to open the door again because I'm like, at the same time, if we are the whole, then the series of our ancestors' regressions or progression has affected that, which all came from their thought and belief that led to us. It's a
right, and it comes down to again, moment to moment choice. Now, what do I do with it? Do I take all that baggage and bring it into my current existence, or do I take that baggage and turn it into an asset,
the power,
and bring it into my current moment? How do I use it? Right, I think it comes down to that again, another choice. So, Dean, why don't you bring us all home? Is there any summary, any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
Sure. I would say that all character is yours, and I would say it behooves you to subscribe to the ones that lift you and not the ones that make you feel like you're weighted down, because your stepping off point is what you believe your character is currently and how you can adjust those beliefs to support you. If there are beliefs in there that are doing nothing but holding you down or keeping you on that other side, look at those beliefs, challenge those beliefs. And I'm open to the point of going, again, if go back to religion, if you believe that even your religion has affected you in a way that you continue on the negative, challenge it to where you either step away going, I understand my religion even more now and I am even deeper in it, or I've realized that there are some things in here that I need to figure out where they're shifting me and how I can either come to terms, agree, or adjust, because all of these are beliefs. And at the end of the day, how is it affecting your daily life right now?
Yeah, choice.
Choice.
I think it's
Choice.
a really powerful place for you to leave us today is
Yeah.
on choice and the present moment and the future. Um, I think that's fantastic. Is there a way people get a hold of you if they want to talk about the future or choice or
Sure.
acting or anything further? How can
Sure.
they
I'm
reach you?
easy. I'm on almost all social channels as at the Dean West right there. That's why I put the. So if anybody's like, oh God, he calls himself the, that's just happened to be my social channels. They're all the same under the Dean West, so you can find me that way. I have a podcast as well, the Dean West Perspective and stuff like that. We kind of jump in that creative world of discussing life, because to me, the acting and life and all of that is so interconnected. We just don't think of it that way because, to me, most likely acting got pushed down to like the jokesters in the area of like, oh, these guys just play and they put on the performances. I look at it as there was probably a possibility of people realized how powerful the craft could be, why we call it the craft. Um, and it was probably easier for people to put those people in a place that seemed less than to elevate it to the stance of these people can help you create the life you choose.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there. Thanks so
Yep.
much for coming
My
on. I
pleasure, Abisa.
appreciate your time. The insights are always the nuggets are stunning, like I said. And so thanks for making a contribution today and giving us your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, enjoy.
See you later, man.